Hello, and welcome to Anime Audio Commentary. Today I'll be commenting on Episode 1 of Season 2 of My Dress Up Darling. If you'd like to watch along, then start watching now. Alright, so I suppose this is like some anime Marin's watching or, getting Gojo to watch or something. No doubt for a cosplay. Oh, I'm on board with this. Here we go. Bunch of bunny girls? Nice. So it's like what? Like bunny girls doing odd jobs going to a casino? I've noticed something of a trend with My Dress Up Darling in that a lot of the media in-universe, the manga and things that Marin enjoys, they seem like they'd actually be pretty appealing if they were real, but sadly they aren't. That is perhaps the one great disappointment, really, because, I know the manga's wrapped up fairly recently, but, I wouldn't be averse to, maybe a volume of manga, just, writing out these little, short stories or one-offs. Oh, wait a minute, they're assassins, too. Bunny Girl Assassins. Here we go, I really like this premise more and more the more I learn about it. And there's something about just sort of haphazardly using high explosives. Oh man, they're bumbling too. This is great. Alright, this is just something I would unironically watch, a bunch of bumbling bunny girl assassins who aren't particularly good at their job. Oh dear. So I guess, that crime boss, he gets to live for another day, the lucky guy. Alright, so I guess Gojo's just watching more of it, I can't say I blame the guy. This does seem to be, interesting if nothing else. I'm not surprised that Marin introduced him to it, but I guess the question is, which character is she gonna dress up as? It's gotta be one of the bunny girls, surely. Oh, Gojo's asking the silly questions. You gonna dress up as one of the Yakuza guys? The answer, of course, is no. So Marin's going for, the especially ditzy of the bunny girls, which, excellent choice, frankly. I guess if I had to pick one of the trio, this would be the one I would go for. Oh, wow. You know it's over when she has all the lines memorized for the scene. Like, I guess she really couldn't pick anyone else, you know? It has to be this character. Wow. You know, it really does seem like a lot of thought went into this whole bunny girl assassin business where, you know, they each have a different suit and different stockings. Ooh, not a single person hates bunnies. That is very true. Frankly, truer words have scarcely been spoken. And you know, this is something I appreciate, you know, sort of like non-canon art or even fan art of characters dressed as bunnies. Oh, wait a minute. Whoa, if you go back to that wide shot, like, you're not gonna believe this, but I actually had a cameo in here. I was in that shot, you know, I'm one of the people who loves bunnies. I mean, Marin is maybe a little overzealous about her love for bunnies, but, you know, I guess I can understand it. Oh, you're kidding me. This statement, like, they're just eternal, right? Like, this is what resonates with Gojo. The idea of, like, eternal beauty, you know. Okay, yeah, they're just like Hina dolls, right? It's like, yeah. I mean, I guess there's kind of an overlap, but, oh boy. So I guess we're probably going to be leaning a bit more on fan service in this episode. You know, in the past season, there was this discussion on the nature of beauty that I particularly enjoyed, but I guess we're not getting a reprise of that with, you know, how bunny suits are eternal. So I guess the question is, what hijinks are going to happen here? Because, like, it's been a hot minute since I've watched the first season, but if I recall correctly, it's essentially like Marin wants to do cosplay, things kind of go not quite as planned, and then things get fixed by mainly Gojo's creativity. Oh boy, Marin's just teasing the poor guy. Like, they did sort of kind of confess to each other, not really, but man, she's just going for it, just teasing the poor guy. Like, you know, I don't think he's gonna just, like, take the initiative or anything yet, but, you know, it would have been nice if he did, I suppose, but, you know, I'm willing to give it a few episodes, you know? At least because, like, with a rom-com like My Dress-Up Darling, it at least tends to be fairly well written, and that there's, like, enough other stuff there, you know? The romance is a main aspect, but it's not the only thing there is to it. You know, things like, please put them on Takamine, like, I mean, something like that pales in comparison to this, frankly. And you know what, I even say that as someone who has kind of a soft spot for it, but, you know, it is not excellent, I'll put it that way. I think that's perhaps the nicest way I can describe it. Alright, so things are, getting a little spicy, you know. Gojo's inviting Marin over, and naturally, he probably doesn't have anything sordid in mind, but, like, that's just kind of where her brain's going, so, the question is, how worked up is she gonna get before we figure out what's going on here? Ooh. Alright, so the poor guy's suffering about something. I guess it makes sense that he's struggling with the outfit, you know, like, this tends to be the case, although I guess I'm kind of surprised that he's discouraged. Like, it must be like an actual big unfortunate thing. So he's suffering with the main bodysuit. I'm guessing, like, oh, that's the issue. It won't stay up on its own. Oh. I'd never really considered that. Like, oh, okay, so I guess, like, some bunny suits have clear straps. I figured other bunny suits would be just kind of, like, rigid, Or maybe they use, like double-sided tape, maybe. Like, I shudder to imagine that, but yeah, I don't know. Like, I guess I had never truly pondered the mechanics of the bunny suit and how it works and how one would get it to behave how it should ideally. I mean, Gojo's suffering alright. I can't say I blame him. I would be suffering, albeit for different reasons. And perhaps the worst part about all this is that, like, he's done a good job on everything else, and Marin, recognizes that. Man, so I think I know where this is going. She's gonna try it on, isn't she? And, like, they're going to buy straps now, but I wouldn't be surprised if she opted to try it without straps and there was some sort of wardrobe malfunction. Oh boy, it's over when you have to bring schematics like this to the guy at the cloth store. Ah, buddy. I mean, at least Gojo is, stating this without a trace of embarrassment, because, if he were embarrassed, like, I feel like this would become a billion times worse. Unfortunately, I think the shopkeeper is reading a little bit too far into things, even if he is willing to help. Oh, it's over when the guy says, like, hey, it'll look good on you, man. It's like, whoa, buddy. Oh, dear. At least the guy has the good grace to apologize. At the very least, this is one of those things where you can have a laugh about it. It becomes a funny story. Now, I wonder how realistic are these little things, these clothing schematics? I can't help but wonder if this is how things are actually done, but the interesting thing here is that the man at the clothing store is basically saying, like, the best way to do things like this is to use bones, essentially. And, like, that seems rather old-fashioned to me, because, like, the idea of, like, a whalebone corset is, I don't know, like, kind of like 18th century in my mind. And I guess I just assumed that, they're probably not using actual bones, now that I think about it. There's probably plastic or metal instead, but I guess if you really want to avoid straps, this is probably the way to do it. Alright, so I guess despite the misunderstanding about who's wearing the bunny outfit, the guy at the clothing store has, I guess, some wisdom here. Like, sometimes you do need to take a step back and look at things holistically. If you're not careful, you're gonna miss the obvious solution, which I suppose, like, a sort of armature would be. I don't know if armature is the appropriate term for it in terms of clothing, but alright. Yeah. This guy is a font of wisdom. It's like, look, you should be able to enjoy your mistakes too. And I guess, as far as mistakes go, this is probably a good one to make regarding bunny suits. Oh no. Gojo's like, we can't make any more mistakes, but it seems like a mistake has been made. Whoa, buddy. Wow, that's a very high cut, and, I guess if you don't want your underwear showing through, then, whoa, buddy, there's an obvious solution, and it's probably one Gojo's not willing to endorse. Oh boy. Yeah, I guess Gojo's making the point that, like, he's not exactly a subject matter expert, so he can't weigh in on how to get around this. And, I guess, frankly, I'm at a loss. You'd probably have to get underwear that's equally high-waisted, but, I don't know if such a thing exists. I mean, once again, I am no expert. So I guess this is like a studio for a whole bunch of places where they can take photos. I don't know if these are meant to be replicas of the anime, but, like, I guess they're probably good enough, Like, the anime seem to venture into a variety of places, and, like, this sort of, like, lounge and casino and stuff like that, like, they'll all probably work well. Although this, this still doesn't solve the wardrobe problem. Wow. Okay, so I guess, people are jumping to conclusions here. Marin, I guess, assumes that, high-waisted stuff puts Gojo in a bad mood, and, like, man, that's a fundamental misread of the situation, I would say. Like, it's not a bad mood, but, like, it's certainly not a mood that's conducive to working, Okay, so I guess Marin has found a solution. She said she might not be able to go commando, but, oh, okay, adhesive underwear. Oh. That sounds tremendously unappealing, adhesive underwear. I don't know how that works, like... I hate to say I'm gonna Google that later, but I think just out of sheer morbid curiosity I might have to. And I guess poor Gojo, like, he's suffering just looking at the skin, the bare skin, but, I suppose he was bamboozled, Those nice skin tone tights do a convincing job of just making believe that it's skin, but, I feel like that's not going to make much of a practical difference for Gojo. Like, the idea here is that, like, boy howdy, it looks like bare skin. Oh boy. So I guess it does only make sense that he's gonna struggle here. Like, I feel like anyone would struggle when a bunny suit's involved, It doesn't help that Marin seems to be bending over at every opportunity. And, like, the Calipegian spectacle is too much, Man, it's a shame there's not, like, a cold shower handy, because I feel like Gojo could probably use it. Alright, so I guess now we're all quibbling over tights, and, the different lines present on them. And I guess those are like seams where they get sewn together. And, I vaguely recall hearing somewhere that, like, seeing actual seams on tights is a sign of low quality tights, but I don't know if that's just hearsay or conjecture. So I'm wondering if that's just like a sort of, an interesting little detail that people pay attention to but don't really know the origins of, when Marin's saying, like, look, you need to pay attention to the lines on these tights here. So I guess I'm wondering, with all these people cosplaying, like, Gojo's gotta be here, right? But the question is, like, how is he faring in a situation like this? Because, like, loud karaoke, even if I did want to go to a convention, I feel like something like this would be a little too much for my liking. So Gojo, I guess he seems to have disguised himself here with, funnily enough, a bunny suit, but not the one that you or I would prefer. So I guess they're just getting Gojo to sing karaoke. And, all he really knows is sort of one kind of embarrassing song from that Magical Girl anime. Now, it's interesting. Gojo clearly chose the costume he did out of embarrassment and shyness. But Marin's just trying to, gently push him to cosplaying another character from the show, one suitable for him, mind you, but he's not remarkably receptive to the idea, which I can't say I blame him for, and it makes sense given what we know about him, but I don't know, maybe something like that would be good for the guy. Because in a situation like this with Marin and other like-minded people, you're there to have fun. And, I guess if Gojo's working together with Marin, he would at the very least be sure to have a good cosplay. There's no worry about him having, a poor costume, So I feel like in that regard, there's nothing to worry about. Alright, so this is something, Gojo's getting some recognition for being involved with Marin and helping her out, but, it seems as though something interesting has happened here. One of the other guys is asking, how do you know how to do makeup? Do you help Marin with that? And it seems as though this is a bit of a painful memory for Gojo. We really don't see much of his actual reaction here, but I guess given that he's looking around as people sort of justify things, maybe this is helping the poor guy out, because, I can see how he would be stigmatized for having a skill like that, even if it was learned only for the art of crafting Hina dolls. So, it seems like this is something that happened to Gojo when he was younger. Someone really laid into him, but... I guess it's good he's having this realization that, this negative opinion he held of himself was caused only by one person, and that the belief he assumed to be widely held was really just, vocally held by one person. And, it's sometimes difficult to tell the difference between those two things. Alright, well that's it for this episode. If you've enjoyed it, then by all means, tune in for the next one. See you, Space Cowboy.